This is our Radio 1 o'clock news. First, here are the headlines. The medical charity organization MSF has reported that at least 2 children and an adult have died in hunger-related conditions in a camp in Twitch County, Warrap State. Lawmakers in Central Equatoria have condemned the killing of 11 locals in Dangala area of Lokiliri, Payam over the weekend. An activist has called on the presidency to intervene and put an end to the widespread communal and intercommunal violence across the country. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with Mika Fukijada. Now the news in details. The medical charity organization MSF has reported that at least 2 children and an adult have died in hunger-related conditions in a camp in Twitch County, Warrap State. According to MSF, the victims starved to death 2 days ago after allegedly running out of food in the camp. They are among 20,000 people who fled the violent clashes in and around Agok in Abyei administrative area 4 months ago. In a statement extended to our radio, MSF says the IDPs are living in just 6 makeshift camps in Yin Deng Aiwel camp in Twitch County. The organization cited the emergency project coordinator in Twitch is saying the IDPs lack food, proper shelter and water. Sami Al-Subahi says, and I quote, "I hear from a community leader in Yin Deng Aiwel camp that the mother of one of the children was sitting by her 5-year-old son's small, freshly dug grave. Her 3 other children are all very thin and weak. Sits at the entrance of the family's improvised shelter." End quote. However, Al-Subahi said he could not get the exact picture of what caused the children's death, but he said looking over at the situation there is no doubt that the lack of food contributed to the death. The medical charity said food shortages in the camp were increasingly getting worse since Friday. The dire humanitarian situation forced MSF to provide almost 500 metric tons of its foods in the last few months to the affected population. The charity organization was dismayed by the lack of a proper response from international organizations and government donors working in South Sudan. Lawmakers in Central Equatoria have condemned the killing of 11 locals in Ngalgala area of Lokiri Payam over the weekend. On Thursday, the state legislature dispatched a committee to assess the aftermath of the violence. The Friday killing, according to authorities in Central Equatoria State, were perpetrated by armed cattle keepers who were stationed at a Mogiri area. The herders reportedly moved out of their corrals and attacked the natives at dawn, killing 6 males and 3 females. Isaac Aloro Lomodi is the head of the fact-finding committee. He told reporters in Juba that the violence resulted in the displacement of 7,641 people in the Lilera area. Lomodi said the locals there are living in fear.
There are around 500 internally displaced people from Nangala. Then we have around 7,141 displaced to Leria. In total, we have 7,641 displaced. So the situation has inflicted fear in the people or citizens of Nangala up to Leria. So as mandated by the August House, we have recorded all these cases that has been said by the spokesperson.
The committee has condemned the act, describing it as barbaric. Lomodi said again,
In the first place, as the Committee for Peace and Security, and on behalf of the State Transitional Legislative Assembly, we condemn the barbaric act perpetrated by the armed cattle from the sister state of Jonglei to the citizens of Central Equatoria, in particular, Ngangala of Gloria Payam.
The committee was expected to brief the August House on today's visit. An activist has called on the presidency to intervene and end the widespread communal and intercommunal violence across the country. Edmond Yakani, who is the executive director of the Community Empowerment Progress Organization, says that most of these conflicts are politically motivated. Doru Penina files this report.
In the past 1 week, iRadio reported more than 60 people killed and unspecified others wounded in separate incidents of communal violence across the country. The victims, mainly civilians, died in the areas of Tonj area, Abia, Kapoita North, Rueng, and Juba County. The latest incident was on Sunday when 11 people were killed and a score wounded in a cattle-related attack in Rueng's Abim Nom County. Bataria Manron, an area lawmaker, said the incident occurred when civilians driving recovered cattle back to the Rueng came under attack from suspected cattle raiders. This follows another incident on Saturday in which 18 soldiers and 7 civilians died after the army and local youths in Tonj North County of Warrap State closed. The State Information Minister Ring Deng told iRadio the violence started as the government tried to recover some stolen cattle. Among the victims were the chief of military intelligence in the area and the former commissioner of Mayen Jur in the Difan Gogreal state. An unspecified number of people were wounded and others went missing. On the same day, an armed attack claimed 7 lives and left 2 people wounded in the Abia administrative area. The area spokesperson, Ajak Deng, said the incident, which occurred in the southern part of Abia town, left 7 people dead Saturday evening. The Abia incident occurred after a brief calm and stability since the killing of 25 people in the area in May. The contested border region has often faced communal attacks involving the neighboring Twitch of Warrap State and the Sudanese Messeria tribesmen. The recent Abia incident happened a week after the killing of 9 people by suspected headers in Lokiliri village of Juba County on Friday. A government official in Central Equatoria State said armed cattle keepers stationed at Mugri moved out of their camps and attacked Lokiliri village on Friday morning. In a press statement, the cabinet minister, Woi Godwill Edwards, said the government deployed security forces to calm the situation. According to Minister Godwill, the attackers torched houses, displaced civilians, and kidnapped 3 children. Also last week, at least 13 people were killed in Kapoita North County by suspected armed youths from the Pibor administrative area. The commissioner of Kapoita North County, Ekone Emmanuel Lolimo, said the attack was intended to loot cattle. However, a community leader from Pibor said he could not confirm the allegation that his local youths were responsible for the attack. In his view, Edmond Yakani thinks political elites in Juba are inciting the violence. The activist says there is need for the unity government to expedite the graduation and deployment of the unified forces, as this will reduce the conflicts. Yakani further appealed to the top leadership to develop an early warning system that is responsive to violent conflict. According to the United Nations report, intercommunal fighting has been on the rise across South Sudan, and the main source of violence affecting civilians since the formation of the unity government in 2020. The peacekeeping body said intercommunal clauses and armed conflicts have hampered humanitarian efforts to pre-position food, medicine, and other supplies. Reporting for iRadio, I am Doru Penina.
The Maritime International Logistics Company has petitioned the Kenyan Ports Authority for diverting all clearance of South Sudan bound cargoes to only one private company. In an order issued on the 17th of June 2020, the Kenyan Port Authority directed all goods coming to South Sudan to pass through the Autoports, a private company, for clearance. Lasibo Memo files this report.
Godmugi Enterprise, a Mombasa-based maritime company, has described the order as illegal. The company cited Article 392 of the Kenyan Port Act, which prohibits the authority from consigning goods on behalf of persons to any place within and outside Kenya. The move, according to the company, will deny other players the chance to compete on an equal front and the consignee the right to choose service providers. The company demanded KPA to withdraw the order, or else it will swiftly seek court orders to both penal and civil jail for various offenses under the country's penal code. Complaining, Godmugi Enterprise is now giving the Kenyan Port Authority up to 14 days to reconsider the move and revoke the decision. Meanwhile, one of the clearance agents told iRadio that the illegal diversion of South Sudan-bound cargo to a private company has affected their work in the Mombasa port. Abdul Latif Ibrahim is accusing the South Sudan government of backing the order he says contravenes the bill of lading. He spoke to iRadio this morning from Mombasa port.
We just got a message from the KPA that all cargo destined to Sudan cleared by all of them, units and containers should all be cleared by one CSS Autoport. So we do not know how they have arrived to this sort of conclusion, because normally we nominate where our cargo should go. There are quite a number of CSS with whom we have got some arrangement as regards the charges, but now they are trying to usurp the powers which is not there to give all the work to Autoport. From the Sudan government, that all cargo destined to Southern Sudan should only pass through that company, not even Kenya Port Authority, should all pass through that company, Autoport.
South Sudan and Kenya governments are yet to respond to this matter. Early this week, the National Chamber of Commerce accused the government of Kenya of imposing a new policy restricting road transporters to use the railway and ensure hub loads, something doubling the initial tax fees. Kenyan Transporters Association described the move as illegal and causing barriers on South Sudan cargo destined to Nairobi. In a press release issued over the weekend, the association said it was seeking legal redress through lawyers on the new policy. According to the association, the Kenya Ports Authority management and a few institutions in South Sudan have formed cartels to exploit cargoes destined to Juba. For iRadio, I'm Lasubo Memo.
Thank you, Lasubo Memo. You are listening to iRadio News, and now to the international news brought to you by MTN. My colleague Doru Penina joins us.
Freedom is everyone's desire. Freedom is what makes you and me happy. Freedom is called Horea in my country. My telecom network has chosen to give me freedom. MTN is my network. I have the freedom. I choose affordable and reliable. Horea Bundles is my way. MTN introduces to you Horea Bundles, giving you the freedom to call across all networks with the same bundles. Subscribe by dialing star 100, star 3, star 4 hash, and get 15 minutes for only 100 SSP and 30 minutes for 150 SSP, valid for 1 day. Horea, pure freedom. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome for the international news. In Sudan, internet access has been cut ahead of nationwide protests on Thursday to press for civilian rule. Internet monitoring organization NetBlocks report that internet access was disrupted across the country at 8:00 local time. The protesters have been using social media platforms to organize. Security forces are reported to have closed major bridges linking the capital Khartoum to the twin cities of Omdurman and Bahri ahead of their protest. A Sudanese doctors union said 103 people have been killed as a result of the crackdown against pro-democracy demonstrations prompted by the last year's military coup. Elsewhere, Ukraine Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has said his country is willing to unconditionally resume grain exports to Africa and other parts of the world should Russia end the naval blockade in the Black Sea. In an interview, Klabe said despite many African countries maintaining a neutral position on the Russian invasion of Ukraine, his country would make sure it kept its part of the bargain. He also urged the world and all African states to work together and pressure Russia to allow a safe sea route for our food exports. Fuel and food prices in Africa have skyrocketed since 24th February when the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, and attempts by some leaders to ease the burden caused by the conflict have been unsuccessful. Finally, Chinese President Jinping has arrived in Hong Kong to mark 25 years since the former British colony returned to Beijing's rule. It is his first visit outside mainland China since the start of the pandemic nearly 2.5 years ago. Mr. Jinping, who traveled by high-speed train, was greeted by pupils waving flags of China and Hong Kong. Security is tight around the convention center hosting events, the roads closed, and a no-fly zone overhead. And that's all in the international news. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Dora Penina. And now to the sports news. My colleague Moyo Jacob joins us.
Good afternoon. Romelu Lukaku has returned to Inter Milan on a season-long loan just a year after leaving for Chelsea. Chelsea paid Inter a club record of 97.5 million euros for Lukaku, 29 last summer, but before Christmas, he said he was not happy and hoped to rejoin the Italian side. Inter have agreed to pay a loan fee of about 8 million euros for Lukaku, who helped them win Serie A in 2020 to 2021. The Belgian striker was not a regular starter for Chelsea last season, but scored 15 goals in all competitions. Andy Murray says he aims to improve his ranking before the US Open so he can be seeded and avoid facing high-ranked players early in the tournament. The British former world number one suffered his earliest Wimbledon exit as he lost to American 20th seed John Isner in the second round on Wednesday. Three-time Grand Slam champion Murray, ranked 52nd in the world, had never failed to reach the third round in 13 previous appearances at Wimbledon, where he is a two-time winner. And in women football, Carson Pickett has become the first player with a lane difference to play for the United States women's team. The 28-year-old defender was born without part of her left arm. Pickett played the full 90 minutes at left back in a 2-0 friendly victory against Colombia at the Rio Tinto Stadium. End of iRadio Sports News, and back to you, my colleague in the studio.
You are listening to iRadio News, and to end this bulletin, here are the headlines again. The medical charity organization MSF has reported that at least 2 children and an adult have died in hunger-related conditions in a camp in Twitch County, Warrap State. Lawmakers in Central Equatoria State have condemned the killing of 11 locals in Ngangala area of Lukiliri, Payam over the weekend. An activist has called on the presidency to intervene and end the widespread communal and intercommunal violence across the country. That's the end of our radio afternoon news. You can get these stories and updates by subscribing to our radio news alerts on your MTN South Sudan number. Call 700 or dial *700# and follow the instructions. If there's a story or an event you would like our radio to cover or report about, please send us a text message on +211 925 287 870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Follow us on Twitter at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page, iRadio, subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for the news in Arabic at 1/2 past the hour. I am Kafuki Jada, and on behalf of the news team, thanks for listening.